Hello. I want to start today with something simple. I want you to stand up for a moment. If you are able to do so safely, stand up and then stand still, just for a few seconds, feet together if comfortable, eyes open, and notice what is happening. Notice the tiny adjustments your body is making, the small shifts of weight, the subtle corrections, the constant quiet work your muscles and your nervous system are doing, just to keep you upright. Standing still, which looks effortless from the outside, is actually one of the most complex things your body does, involving your eyes, your inner ears, the sensors in your feet and joints, and a part of your brain that is processing all of this information continuously without you thinking about it. And here's the thing I want you to understand today. Each of those systems changes with age, gradually, in ways that are measurable, and in ways that explain precisely why balance becomes more challenging after 65. My name is Dr. Chen. I am a physician in internal medicine, and I have been caring for seniors for over 25 years. Today, I want to explain what is actually happening inside your balance systems. As you age, in plain and honest language, grounded in real research. And then I want to tell you what exercises, real named exercises with a real evidence base, actually help. Not miracle routines, real approaches that physical therapists and researchers have studied in older adults and found to be genuinely effective. Let us begin. Now, first, I want to explain how balance actually works, because most people have never thought about this properly. And understanding it changes the way you think about what you can do. Your body uses three separate sensory systems to maintain balance, working together all the time. The first is your visual system, your eyes. Your eyes provide constant information about where you are in relation to the world around you. They help you judge distances, detect movement, and orient yourself in space. When your eyes are open and working well, they provide a powerful and reliable balance signal. The second system is your vestibular system. This is your inner ear. Inside each ear, there are small fluid-filled structures called the semicircular canals and the otolith organs. These structures detect the movement and position of your head, acceleration, deceleration, tilting, turning, and they send that information directly to your brain, almost instantaneously. This is the system that tells you you are moving or tilting even when your eyes are closed. The third system is your somatosensory system. This includes what researchers call proprioception, the sensors in your muscles, your joints, and particularly your feet and ankles that detect pressure, position, and movement, and send that information to the brain. Think of the soles of your feet as a continuous stream of information, telling your brain exactly how much pressure is on each part of your foot and in which direction your weight is shifting at every moment. Now, here's the key thing to understand. Your brain does not rely on any single one of these systems. It integrates all three all the time, weighing and combining the information from your eyes, your inner ears, and your body's sensors to produce what researchers call postural stability, your ability to stay upright and balanced. Now, what happens to each of these systems after 65? This is the critical part, and I want to go through each one carefully because the research is specific and understanding it is genuinely useful. The first system, vision. Vision changes with age in several ways that are relevant to balance. Contrast sensitivity, the ability to distinguish objects from their backgrounds, declines with age. This affects the ability to see uneven ground, steps, or changes in surface texture, particularly in low light. Depth perception, the ability to judge distances accurately, can also become less precise, and the speed at which the visual system processes changes in the environment slows somewhat. This means that when an unexpected change in the environment occurs, a step, a crack in the pavement, a slight slope, the visual system may not signal the brain in time to make the necessary adjustment before balance is challenged. The second system, the vestibular system. Research published in 2025 in the journal Experimental Physiology found that age-related deterioration in both proprioceptive and vestibular function occurs even in healthy older adults who are physically active. The inner ear hair cells, the tiny sensory cells that detect head movement, decline in number with age. This process begins relatively early and continues through life, with the result that the vestibular signal, the information your inner ear sends to your brain about head position and movement, becomes somewhat less precise and less reliable with age. This has a particular effect on balance in what researchers call sensory-deprived conditions, meaning situations where one of the other systems, vision or proprioception, is also compromised, such as walking in dim lighting or on uneven ground, where the foot sensors cannot get accurate grip on the surface. In those situations, the vestibular system needs to carry more of the load, and in an older adult, it may not be as able to do so as it once was. The third system, proprioception. This is perhaps the most directly relevant to the experience of balance difficulty that many older adults describe. A 2025 study from Experimental Physiology found that aging-related proprioceptive deterioration was measurable even in healthy older adults at a high level of physical activity. The sensors in the feet and ankles, which provide the most important proprioceptive information for balance, become less sensitive with age. This means that the brain receives a less detailed and less precise map of weight distribution, pressure, and position from the feet. Combined with slower nerve conduction speed, which also occurs with age, the time between a balance disturbance occurring and the brain receiving the signal and responding with a corrective muscle movement is longer in older adults than in younger ones. This delay is small, often fractions of a second, but in balance terms, fractions of a second matter. Now, here's something important that I want you to hear. Research has found that aging-related sensory deterioration in these three systems is significantly associated with poor balance control, particularly in low-light conditions or on challenging surfaces. A 2025 study found that even for healthy older adults at a high level of physical activity, these deteriorations were described as inevitable with aging. Now, that word inevitable might sound discouraging, but I want to give you the complete picture, because inevitable does not mean unaddressable. And here's why. The balance system is remarkably adaptable, even in older adults. This is sometimes called sensory reweighting. The brain can learn to rely more heavily on the systems that are working best, and to compensate for the systems that have declined. When one system is less reliable, the brain can shift more of its reliance to the remaining systems, if those systems are trained and supported. And this is precisely what the evidence-based balance exercises do. They train the brain to use its remaining sensory resources more effectively, and they strengthen the physical structures, the muscles, the joints, the reaction pathways that allow the body to make faster and more effective corrections when balance is challenged. Now, let me tell you about the specific exercises that research supports for improving balance in older adults. I am going to be specific because vague advice to exercise more is not useful. The first and most well-studied approach is Tai Chi, specifically a modified form called Tai Chi Chuan, moving for better balance, which was developed specifically for fall prevention research. I have mentioned this in previous videos because the evidence for it is consistently strong. A systematic review published in 2025 analyzing 27 clinical trials of exercise interventions in adults aged 60 and above found that Tai Chi programs were associated with fall risk reductions in the range of approximately 31 to 58% compared to control groups. Now, why does Tai Chi work for balance specifically? It is worth understanding the mechanism because it is not just about strength. Tai Chi involves slow, deliberate, weight-shifting movements that progressively challenge the balance system. Each movement requires the brain to process changing weight distribution, shifting proprioceptive signals, and postural adjustments in a controlled, gradual way. Over time, this trains the brain's balance integration pathways. It trains the sensory reweighting I described. It builds leg strength, particularly in the muscles around the ankle and knee, which are critical for balance correction. And it builds what researchers call reactive balance ability, the speed and effectiveness of the automatic stepping response when balance is suddenly challenged. Tai Chi classes are widely available through senior centers, YMCAs, community recreation programs, and some physical therapy clinics across the United States. Many are offered specifically as fall prevention programs for older adults. When looking for a class, ask specifically whether the instructor has experience working with older adults on fall prevention and whether the class is adaptable for people who need to hold a chair for support initially. Most good Tai Chi for balance programs accommodate a range of starting ability levels. The second approach is the Otago exercise program. I have also mentioned this before, but I want to describe it in more detail here because it is directly relevant to balance specifically. The Otago program, originally developed and studied in New Zealand, is a set of specific leg strengthening and balance exercises designed for older adults and typically delivered by a physical therapist. The balance exercises in the Otago program are specifically designed to progressively challenge postural stability, starting with a two-legged stance and gradually progressing toward more challenging positions, such as walking heel to toe, standing on one leg, and walking while turning the head. This progressive challenge is important because the balance system, like any physical system, adapts to the level of challenge it is given. A 2022 meta-analysis combining data from 15 randomized controlled trials found consistent reductions in falls associated with the Otago program in community-dwelling older adults. The evidence is strongest in adults over 80 and in those who are considered frail, which is significant because these are often the groups for whom other exercise programs may feel inaccessible. The Otago program is typically done at home, after an initial assessment and instruction from a physical therapist. It involves a short series of exercises, done several times per week, and a regular walking component. It can be adapted to individual ability levels and progresses gradually over the course of several months. To ask for this specifically, tell your doctor that you are concerned about your balance and ask for a physical therapy referral with specific interest in a home-based balance program, such as the Otago program. The third approach is balance training as part of a broader exercise program, specifically what researchers call multi-component exercise. This means combining strength training, balance training, and sometimes aerobic activity in the same program. A 2025 systematic review found that multi-component exercise programs were associated with fall risk reductions in the range of 20 to 45% in community-dwelling older adults. The reason combining strength and balance training works better than either alone is that balance in real life requires both. You need the proprioceptive training to improve how quickly and accurately your brain receives balance information. And you need the muscular strength to act on that information quickly enough to prevent a fall. Training one without the other leaves part of the system underdeveloped. Now, I also want to mention something specifically about ankle strength because it is often overlooked, but is critically important for balance. Your ankle is the primary joint used for what researchers call the ankle strategy, the first and most commonly used corrective response. When balance is challenged in quiet standing, a small sway is detected, and the ankle muscles, particularly the calf muscles and tibialis anterior, contract to bring the center of gravity back over the base of support. This response needs to be fast and it needs to be strong. Ankle strength exercises, specifically calf raises, ankle circles, and resistance exercises targeting the tibialis anterior, are part of evidence-based balance programs, precisely because of the ankle's role in balance correction. Now, I want to talk about something that may surprise you regarding footwear, because it relates directly to proprioception. The research on footwear and balance in older adults has found that certain shoe features can affect proprioceptive input from the feet. Thick, highly cushioned soles, while comfortable, can reduce the richness of the proprioceptive signal that the foot receives from the ground. This is sometimes called sensory insole research. And while the evidence is still developing, it suggests that footwear that allows more contact sensation with the ground may support proprioceptive input, in contrast to very thick or very soft soles. This does not mean barefoot is safer. It is not. For most older adults, unsupported barefoot walking on hard floors increases injury risk. But it does mean that asking a podiatrist or physical therapist about appropriate footwear for your specific situation is worth doing, rather than assuming the most cushioned shoe is always best. Now, I also want to mention the role of vision, because addressing vision problems is one of the most direct ways to support the visual component of balance. An annual eye exam, including a check for cataracts, glaucoma, and an updated eyeglass prescription, is a standard recommendation as part of fall prevention, because correcting vision problems directly improves one of the three balance input systems. If you wear bifocals or progressive lenses, it is also worth discussing with your eye doctor whether your current lenses are appropriate for walking and navigating stairs. Some research has noted that bifocals can create distortion in the lower visual field when walking, which may affect the visual input relevant to balance. Now, I want to address something honestly, because I think it deserves honesty. Balance training takes time, and it requires consistency. Meaningful improvements in balance in research studies have typically been observed after 8 to 16 weeks of consistent progressive practice. Not days, not 1 or 2 weeks, 8 to 16 weeks of consistent work. This is not a criticism. It is simply the reality of how the nervous system adapts. And it is a reason to start, not a reason to wait, because 8 weeks from now, you will either have 8 weeks of consistent practice or you will still be at the starting point. And the other important word is progressive. Balance training that never gets more challenging will produce initial improvements and then plateau. This is why the structured programs, Tai Chi, Otago, multi-component programs delivered by a physical therapist are more effective than simply doing the same exercises indefinitely. They are designed to progress, to gradually increase the challenge as your ability improves, matching the training stimulus to your developing capacity. Now, let me tell you what to actually do following this conversation. The first step, talk to your doctor about your balance. Be specific. Tell them whether you have noticed changes in your balance, whether you feel unsteady in certain situations, whether you have had near falls or stumbles. Ask for a formal balance assessment, including the timed up and go test, and ask for a physical therapy referral. specifically mentioning interest in a balance-focused program such as the Otago program or Tai Chi for fall prevention. The second step, look for a Tai Chi for Better Balance class in your community. Your local area agency on aging, your YMCA, your senior center, or a community recreation center are all good starting places. Ask specifically whether the class is designed for older adults and whether it addresses fall prevention. The third step, if a formal program is not immediately accessible, begin with very simple balance challenges at home, under safe conditions, standing near a counter or solid wall for support. Practice standing with feet together for as long as is comfortable. Then gradually over days and weeks, progress toward more challenging positions. Semi-tandem stance, one foot slightly ahead of the other. Then full tandem stance, one foot directly in front of the other, heel to toe. These are the progression positions used in clinical balance assessment. And practicing them gradually and safely is a way to begin challenging your balance system while waiting for a more structured program. Always have a stable surface within reach when practicing balance exercises at home. Never practice in a situation where a loss of balance could result in a fall. The safety of the practice environment is essential. The fourth step, schedule an annual eye exam. If it has been more than a year, ask your eye doctor specifically whether your current prescription and lenses are appropriate for walking safely. The fifth step, ask your doctor or pharmacist whether any of your current medications affect dizziness, blood pressure on standing, or alertness in ways that could be contributing to balance difficulty. This is a straightforward question that can sometimes lead to meaningful medication adjustments. Now, let me close with something I want you to take away. The research is clear that balance deterioration after 65 involves real, measurable changes in three interconnected sensory systems: your vision, your inner ear, and your proprioceptive sensors. These changes are a normal part of aging. They cannot be entirely prevented. But here's what the same research also shows. The balance system retains meaningful capacity for adaptation at any age. Structured, progressive, consistent balance training produces real improvements in older adults, including those who are frail, including those who are already experiencing balance difficulty. The brain can learn to use its remaining sensory resources more effectively. The muscles can become stronger and faster. The protective stepping response that catches you when balance is challenged can become more reliable. None of this happens overnight, and none of it replaces the need for a proper assessment from a physician or a physical therapist who can look at your specific situation and design an approach that fits you. But it is real, it is researched, and it is available to you. I am Dr. Chen. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this gave you a clearer picture of what is actually happening with your balance and what you can genuinely do about it, please share it with someone you care about who may be noticing the same changes and wondering the same things. Leave your questions in the comments. I read them, and I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourself.